Okay, Notion can be the answer to your problems or an overwhelming nightmare. Today, I want to show you busy people not only how to get started in Notion as your productivity system right, but how to thrive in it, even as a beginner. So use it right, and it will turn overwhelm and information overload into calm and simplified productivity, and you'll just wonder why you didn't use it earlier. If that sounds too good to be true, well, let's be honest, it often is. Too many of you lot message me on this channel because you've tried Notion only to discover that the learning curve was way too steep and that you gave up. Now, if you recognize that, well, today I'm going to show you the essential Notion basics I think everyone should learn so that they can fast track to having more time and energy for what matters by using these brilliant ways that Notion can help you stay on top of your note-taking, your task management, and wider personal organization. And to do all of that, I want to show you my newly updated Simplified Notion Life OS and some ways to build with or without it in your workspace. So by the end of the video, you'll know the basics of navigating Notion. You'll have learned a couple of simple but powerful ways to use pages and databases to organize your information, and some great examples of adapting and using templates like this to revolutionize your workspace. And to that end, you can grab my newly updated Simplified Life OS that will be touring today via the links below at bettercreating.com if you want to fast track to great tasks, goal setting, note taking, habit tracking, and all the rest. And for those of you that already own a Simplified Life OS, we'll be dropping you an email shortly to give you some guidance on how to update or move across, and you can use your existing link if you need to. All right, let's do this. So for this first section, I'll show you the key Notion understanding you need to happily get started quickly in Notion. I want to show you the basics of creating some pages and better navigation, and how and why databases are awesome in Notion once you unlock them. But before we go into that, if you ever want to add a template to get started, this is how you would do it. So if we jump over to my workspace here, you can see I'm in a brand new workspace for me. It's a free plan, and these are some of the others that I'm using. This is the Better Creating one. And when you open it, you'll just kind of have an empty space. Now you can grab templates from the template gallery and find them like that, but maybe you'll want to find specific people's external templates like you would with mine. And to do that, I'm going to jump to Chrome. So you could navigate to the public page where you might want to download the template like I've got here. And then that would eventually take you through to accessing the template online. So here it is. And you can see the buttons aren't pressable because it's essentially a website. So up in the top right, you'll see there's this little duplicate button. If you click this, I'm now going to duplicate it into my workspace. I'm going to click Leave Site. It's going to take us to Notion. And you'll see here, it's asking me to select a workspace where I would like to add the template. I'm going to click and go to Simon's Notion, and I'm just going to add it to private pages. And there we go. We'll let you know when it's ready to use in your workspace. So while we wait for that, let me show you a quick example of how we might start to build something out. This is a new page, and anytime you want to build a new page, you would just want to use this button here, or maybe you just create add new down here. So this, you can see my template is loading. It's quite a large one, so it takes a while. But the first thing I would do with a home page is go up to the top right and go full width. This is the kind of page options. Great, my template is ready. We'll take a look at that in a bit. So let's click full width, and you'll see that's opened it up. Well, I'm going to call this Simon's homepage. So you can title it. You can add an icon. I've got a weird ticket in there, but let's go for, in icons, let's look for home. You could use this, for example, and you can add a cover. Now, it will just randomly select one for you, but if you go up to change cover, I love using Unsplash, and why don't we do color graphic and find something nice and clean. That's lovely. I'm going to go with that. You can reposition it. Nice. And there is my homepage. Now, the next thing you should know about pages is if you press /, it will give you loads of options to add things, from their latest features like AI meeting notes, right down to buttons, toggles, headings, bullet points. You can even do embeds and line charts and databases. But let's just keep it simple first of all. And I'm just going to put a heading 2 in here. I can do other commands like / color or column and create 2 columns. And now if I drop this down into here, you'll see we can move it into a column. I can duplicate blocks which is a nice way to quickly get things done. So I could do this kind of thing. And you'll see it's kind of block-based, so you can just kind of mess around with it. One of my favorite things to do as well is use dividers to make it look clean. So we can go dash, dash, dash and drop a divider in, but you could equally go / divider to drop the same thing in. So it's a kind of intuitive thing. You just want to mess around with it. But for now, let's do that. And let's call this one life. And let's call this one work, for example. Now, you can also select the little dots on something to move it around, or you can click on those dots to find the blocks menu. And within that, we can copy links to it, turn it into something different. So that I could turn that into a toggle heading, for example, or we can do things like this. Give it a colored background or colored text just to give it a bit of a look. So let's do that for this one as well. Color and make it orange. And you've got life and work nicely set up in there. You could now start to do things like / page and create other pages within the page. And then if we go back, you'll see there's a new page within there. That's also within the side menu. So if we go into the side menu and open up the home page, you'll then see the new page within it. And that takes me to probably the most important thing I would suggest when designing your workspace. A lot of people will want to navigate using the sidebar. But if you download one of my templates, you'll see that if you open up my sidebar in the template, it's a bit of a mess. And that's because this template is designed to be its own navigation system. So what I'm going to propose we do in our new homepage is take the simplified template and drop it into that page. We can then shut this up, and now you can see you're able to build within your homepage. Now, the reason I like this is, if I delete that page, you can then start to create a kind of home where you just work from, and you never really need to use this. It keeps my sidebar nice and clean. Of course, you can open it up to see what's in it, but I keep it nice and clean, and maybe you might even favorite it so that it's added to your favorites so you always see it. That's up to you. Now, if we jump into the template that we've just downloaded, you'll see that this is an exact copy of the template that we duplicated from the website. So there it is. And for navigation, I've created these navigation menus within the system. So I can do things like skip to tasks and my tasks page. I can use this button to always jump home. I could go to my year summaries page and look at my years. And anytime I want to, I can use that within the system. So this is a really nice way to design things. And all I've really done with that is create little linked views of other pages. So this is just a link to the page. And if you ever want to do that in Notion, I recommend you go @mention, and then you just mention a page and you could link to it. As simple as that. Well, if you're finding this useful, make sure to leave me a like and let me know in the comments below what else you'd love me to cover on the channel. And remember to check out the Notion playlists in the description below, which can help you with all the things that you may need around Notion, from tours of my systems right through to build along tutorials that I think can really unlock Notion if that's what you want. But let's carry on. So those are some basic building blocks. If we open up Simplified Life OS, we can take a look at what is possible. So within this page, I have a dashboard for my life areas, which is allowing me to see tasks and reports on notes, references, clippings, and whether something is due for review. Now, this is how advanced you can get. Like, I've created with formulas these reports. And the idea is that I think you're either a Notion builder, a Notion user, or you're a Notion configurer, somewhere in the middle. I'm a builder, and I've built you guys this, which means it becomes more like an app experience for you. But maybe you're a configurer and you want to take a template like this and just adjust how you use it and how it looks. This is a great approach. But yeah, these are pages just like projects are. So we could jump to my projects view, and I've got a place to look at projects that are due for review, which I can mark as reviewed and clear them from that view using things like filters for databases. We can jump into projects, see reports on the system when it's next due for review and related goals. We can go into that page and also look at linked views of tasks databases, notes and clippings that are linked to that project. It's super powerful. Now, Notion was also made for note-taking, and using a notes and clippings database means that you're able to quickly and easily add written notes, but also clippings from the internet where you might want to find quotes from your Kindle or meeting notes that you've gathered, references from the web. And most excitingly, you can then link these to your projects and output, meaning that when you go, for example, to personal growth, which is one of my projects, I'm able in notes and clippings to see that it's been linked to it. So it just creates this kind of network. I've also built a powerful but accessible task and project manager, which will allow me to create filtered views of tasks. So I've got a filter for all tasks that have not been processed yet. You can see here in my database, it's labeled inbox. And then you're able to see things by status. So this is tasks by whether it's to do, in progress, or done. And I've even created this rather cool priority matrix. If I jump into the task, by labeling it and checking it whether it's important or urgent, I'm able to change its priority and it will move around in that board. That's something I'm really proud of. So this gives you lots of options to link things by dates, urgency, priority, all the rest. Now, overwhelm alert. If all of that suddenly got too much, don't worry. Notion is a place where you start small and build up. And for many, if you download a template like this, you'll want to gently work on one section at a time, learn how it's been built, and make it work for you. So in a moment, I'll show you a couple of examples of how you can do things like manage tasks, manage notes and clippings, set goals and habits. And that's something else I'm really enjoying in this system. I've got a habit tracker within here, which uses buttons to allow you to add a new day and then use the button to log reading. And you can see this is what builders do for you. They will create reports to show you that we've logged one of 156. We logged it today and it's linked to this goal. And all you really had to do was start a new day, which could even be automated, and click the button to log it. And this is the power of templates and taking advantage of whatever everyone else has built, because this takes a long time to build. I'm also really proud in here of my journal, which by the way, isn't showing up in here. So I'm just going to quickly drop a link to my journal. Another little trick when you're building something out, you can reference pages. So I'm going to do /toggle heading 2 to match the others. I'm going to put a little divider in there and I'm going to mention my journal page. I can hover over this to check that it's linked to the right thing. There it is. And as simple as that, we've then got a link to that page. And this is my journal. I love this. Notion's databases allow you to create template pages, which within them can have, if we edit this template page, prompts that are pre-formatted. So for journaling, it's absolutely brilliant because you can simply select a new option and go, great, I want to do some big life questions. Start it, and then it will generate the page and allow you to fill that page in. Super powerful. And I can look at all my reflections, today's log, all the entries that I've ever made, and so on and so forth. And just a journal, I can click a button. Finally, within this template, one of my favorite elements with this, which is where template builders can offer more thought-based value, not just the build, is something like this. This is my goal setting and yearly planner area. Now, yeah, sure, you can add goals to a database and link them to things and track them. But my favorite thing about this is I'm able to offer you ways to think. So for example, you can track your wheel of life. We've got a chart here that's showing how much time I've spent on each. And I can create you a prompted reflection that allows me to create a new reflection and then guide you through questions and ways of thinking about your year. And I've got a full video on that. If you want to check it out, I'll link it below if you want to do a bit of yearly goal setting. So that's the basics of adding a template. I've shown you what's possible and some basics of setting up a page. But what we haven't done is look at databases. And this is where Notion gets super powerful. The very basics of using databases is that if you create a database, you can do /database, and I'm going to drop one in line. And I'm just going to do a new empty database, or you can ask AI to build it for you. But let's just take one of their suggested one. This is a basic task tracker. If I drop that in, and let's do it, leave it like that, we'll see it's created a simple database. Now, if you did just create one in line, you can build it from scratch, just new empty database, and it will look like this, and you can label it, you can add properties, things like status, select, date properties, you can drop these in, and it will just automatically work for you, right? So you can start to fill them out, you can decide what you want to put in. For example, let's add a URL in there. The great advantage of this is that you're able to add pages within that database, but then also create page templates like I showed you in the journal that can be pre-populated to basically save you time and effort. But the advantage of templated databases from Notion is that you can then just adjust what they've made. So I could go in here and go, okay, I don't like that one, I'm going to delete bug, but I might want to add a new thing, which is debug. And really quickly, you're able to adapt it and change it. You can adjust how things look, you can edit the properties. It's pretty intuitive once you have a little explore. So one of my favorite ways to use Notion would be to create a couple of databases for tasks and projects and then link them. And I'll show you how to do that a little bit later. But first of all, let's just do /toggle and do a toggle heading 2. And I'm just going to call this system databases, because this is where I'm going to drop my databases. Let's put them in there. If we've got a task tracker, we could also do /column, add 2 columns, and then drop that in so we've got some space. And here we could do another database inline and use their projects database. I'm just going to keep some of those. Great. I don't want the Gantt. I will have the Gantt chart and I'll have a my projects view. I like it, but maybe not by status. There we go. Cool. So we then have different views, all projects, so on and so forth. They can be assigned to people with an assignee column like this. It's pretty simple. The great thing about that is I've dropped them in here and then I'd be able to start creating views of them. But if there is one thing you learn to do with databases in Notion, it's this, and it's about database relations. So I want to be able to link tasks to projects. And in order to do that, I want to create a relation. So what we're going to do is go to the end here and add a property, and we're going to select relation. And I want to relate the tasks database to the projects one. So you simply select projects, you make it a two-way relation, and you link it to what it's linked to. Now you could call it related project. I'm just going to call it project. And in here, I'm going to call it related tasks. So this is what it will be called in the projects database. This is what it's called in the tasks database. No limit. You don't really need that. Two-way relationship. It shows up in both, add relation. And what that means is if we now go here, we can see there's a related tasks view. So let's say that you want to see how this works. I'm just going to move this property down so you can see it. And we're going to go and link this task to a project. And you can see it links it up. And this is how simply you can make a list of tasks within a project. I would recommend with the property that you click on the property, you wrap the text, and that just allows you to see things. You might want to do the same here. It's a nice little trick. And there you go. As simple as that. You are linking tasks to projects. And we'll go a little bit further with that in the next part of the video. But let's go a little deeper now with 3 ways to use Notion for note-taking, task management, and goal setting. I'm going to show you how to go a little further with the things we've built and where they can go. Let's do it. Now, Notion is best known for note-taking, and it started as that really, as a glorified notebook, and I love it for that. This is my personal home page for Better Creating, where me and the team are working now, and we have a notes and meetings section. And this is essentially my notes and clippings hub. So over here, we have a hub which actually allows me to collect all of my quotes from Kindle. I'm using a Readwise integration. There's more videos on the channel on that. I've got AI summaries of research that I've asked my AI agent to do. I've got tweets, podcasts, articles and blogs, everything I've ever snipped into my Notion workspace. But it kind of gets better than that because you can also take your own notes. So you can also record meetings. And these days, if you look at my recent meeting notes view, you're able to create template pages that can be used as default system pages to take notes. So when I want to start a new meeting, I just click new meeting and it generates a version of that database template. Now you'll see it's doing it down here and there you go. It's dropped in what I've made. I've made a custom button that takes me back to the dashboard. I've got a button to add tasks to my task manager and I've dropped one of these. This is Notion's latest edition, which is /AI meeting notes. And when you drop this in, it will transcribe your live conversation or any meeting that you happen to be on video call or call on your computer when you use it. It's super powerful. So you can create a consent system here. You can format the type of meetings that it is. So I might format it to be that. And then you would click transcribe. And what this is now going to be doing is recording what I'm saying as I say it. And as an example, if I jump into my recent meeting notes with my team member, you can see it's summarized some of our conversations about recent partnerships, strategies. There is a full transcription of the meeting here where you can see what we were talking about, and I can write my own notes around what we wanted to talk about. It's really cool. So if you want to create a simple note-taking system, you'd probably want to do this. In our system database, I could quickly create a database inline. Let's ask AI to create a simple meeting notes database. And it will gradually design it. Now, these new features that Notion are bringing out are making it so much easier for new users. Now, I think there are problems with this. It may make it more confusing than it needs to be, but ultimately it will give you the basics. I can save that. There's my meeting notes system, and I can see it's got attendees, key topics, action items, status. It's pretty good. We can use that. But within here, you can see the new item could be edited. So we can go in and edit the template, call this new meeting, and within that, drop an AI meeting notes block. I can connect it to my Notion calendar, and quite quickly, I'd be able to start transcribing if you've signed up for Notion AI, that is. But once it's in there, you're then able to quickly create a new page and it will drop it in, ready to go. So that could also be that you are putting headings in and so on and so forth as you need in your system. So it's pretty cool. And while we say that, the reason I think this is good is we could now do this. We could do /linked view of a database, and I could link to my meeting notes view and just have a view by status there. And that is a lovely way to create a dashboard without having to see absolutely everything in one place. Really nice. And if we wanted to go even further, you could do toggle heading here and drop that in to there, hide the database title, and you've got a very nice clean look. And that's essentially what I've done in my simplified system. I have a page for notes and clippings, and really this is one database. If we show the source database, it's the notes and clippings database, and there is a type. So it's either a note or a clipping. So I would treat that as, if it's a clipping, it's something that someone else has created that I've brought into my workspace. If it's a note, it's something I've written. So there's a clippings view, a notes view, and a system view. But really, that's why we create it like this, because you can create these nice views where it's clean and easy. Priority, notes, clippings. But you know what? Note-taking in today's world gets so much better when you work out how to remove the friction of quick capture. And a great option is to integrate a web clipper. This is how you might do that. If we jump to Google, there's a lovely little article here in Medium on the brain drain trap. I like everything in it, and I would like to save it for later. You can install something called Save to Notion. There's also another app called Flylighter that Thomas Frank has created. I really like this. It's really simple, it's free, and you can use it in Safari and in Chrome. So once you've installed it, you can create yourself a little form. So I've got these forms here. I'm going to clip it to the Knowledge Hub and select my new clipping template. I can link it to areas of my life. So Simon's coaching and development. I can show any other fields that are in there. I can give it a category that I've set it as, articles, related content that I'm working on. So all of this is possible. I save that into my workspace. And if we now open that page in Notion, there's all the content clipped into Notion. And you'll see that if we go to knowledge and clippings, there it is. The brain drain has been clipped into my setup. Articles and blogs, there it is. And that is all within my Better Creating workspace. Why is this so cool? Well, you can then link it to things. Let's say this was relevant to me recruiting a partnerships manager. I could jump into this view, go to related knowledge, link an existing item, and link it. And then I have a view of that within that project. It's super, super powerful. Now, if you like the look of my huge system here over at Better Creating, I also offer a complete Life OS template that goes even further than the simplified one, which can involve things like content management, client management, and goes further. So depending on your experience, that could also be great for you to check out. So that is note-taking in Notion. Let's take a quick look at some tips for task and project management and goal setting before we wrap this up. So, task management and how to do this quickly and easily in Notion. And what I've actually done here is I've created a little toggle heading to put our databases in. So for example, I could call this tasks database and projects database. Now, when you add something in Notion, you have these options to create new views. So if we created a new view, it's giving us some suggestions, for example, by assignee. And you could start to assign tasks to people, probably by checking on properties, showing your assignee, and then by selecting that it's assigned to you, you can start to see things grouped. So if you want to go deeper on database settings, properties, check out some of my older videos that I'll link below, which will take you into the details. But I actually want to show you very quickly how you can create yourself a quick task view and use filters to help. Now, one of the great approaches to task is to build your databases and then hide them. And then when we go up here, you can use something called a / linked view of a database. Now, this allows you to go and find, say, your task database, select it, and then pick one of the views that you've created. For example, let's have by status. That will drop it in, but you'll see there's a little arrow here. So if I delete this, I don't delete anything in the database. And you can start to style it. This is grouped by status. So we've got a little group, we've used a board view, and we can jump between them. Now, what happens if I want to make something disappear when it's done? Well, we can create a filter. So we can click here and add a filter by status, and you can set it so that where status is or is not, I'm going to say is not complete, and that removes things from the view. So that means you could now move something to be done and it will disappear. Now, let's say you wanted to do that in a different type of view. Let's add another one. We can add a new, let's say, list view, select our task database, and just do my tasks. So there it is. We can jump in and change the layout up here. Maybe we want it to be a feed of our tasks. That's a new look. You could go for a list like this. Let's go for that. And then to show the properties, we click on that little menu, go to property visibility, and let's simply show the due date and the status. And there it is. We can check our filter is assigned to me. But what I could now do is turn this into an advanced filter, and it just means you can select a group of things. So we know that these are only assigned to me, but I also want to recreate that done filter. So let's go and where the status is not complete. And there you go. That should mean that when I change the status to done, it disappears from the view. This could be used for inboxes. It can be used for just keeping your workspace nice and clean. But one of my favorite ways to do this is to use a button. So let me show you one more trick for managing your tasks. What about adding into this property a button? So in here, we're going to open it up, and I'm going to go and look at the properties, and I'm going to add a property. And I want to add a button. Now the button is going to be an automation, and we're going to say completed on the button. We're going to edit the automation, and this will give you this view. And it's very simple. You just create an action, and I want to edit a property within the database, and that's to be status, and I want to set status to done. That's what that button does. We're going to save that, and there it is. Maybe what we want to do is jump back out and add it to our view here. So we can go to our property visibility, show completed, and there it is. And instead of now changing this, we can just have a little bit more of a kind of app-like experience of pressing completed, and it disappears. So this is really just to show you some basics of how databases are so flexible, and you can watch some of my other videos to go deeper into pure task and project management. But let me show you where this can go. In my Simplified Life OS, I have a task page where I can add a new task in SidePeak, quickly input the task. I can give it a due date, which is the date I want it to be done on. I can give it a deadline date, which is the date it has to be done by. And I can even link it to a project, such as my side hustle. I can set my important and urgent, it needs to be done now. And there's my complete button we created earlier. It's all ready to rock. We can then close it down, and my system works with that same filter where the status is inbox, meaning that when we change this to do, it disappears from the inbox. Now, I could create a button for add to system. Then when we jump down to look in the view, we'll see there it is. It's in our to-do list at the top because it's for this week. If we do tasks by due date, we'll see that it's listed under today. There it is. Fix website changes. And if we jump to our projects, because I linked it to the project of my side hustle, I'll also see that task under tasks in that database view, fix website changes. And so when it's complete, I can just click complete and it disappears from my view. So that's task management. Let me show you one more example of how Notion can transform your life as a guide to goal setting. In my goal setting workspace, I've created myself a little yearly reflection. So I can start my yearly reflection and it will generate me a little guided reflection. If I click into that reflection, I've then got this page I've created that I generate where I can work through, reflect on my significant events, identify my wins and losses. I can journal and I can plan ahead. So you can go super deep and give yourself all of these ways to think about your life and reflect. So in January, this is a lovely thing, and I actually guide people to do this on the channel. When we're ready to add new goals, we can do it really simply. I'm going to click add new goal. I'm going to call my new goal. How about that? Become a person who plans their year based on data and reflection. I can list my obstacles and solutions. For example, not collecting data. Solutions, ensure you journal regularly. So there we go. This is the goal. It's ready to go. I can link it to the current year. I can give myself a deadline, which could be, say, the end of the year. And I want to add myself some milestones. So I'm going to open my page into full page so we can take a closer look at it. And I'm going to add into the task database a new milestone task. My milestone task for this is going to be journal weekly. I'm going to set the first due date to be on a Saturday, and I'm going to make that important. And I think that's all it needs to be. I'm going to go back out and there it is. But here's another little trick if you want to. Because this is within a database within the goals template, I've filtered it where the related goals relation is this page. And what that means is that anything I add in here is automatically linked to the goal. So if we go back to our goals database and we take a look at our 2025 goals, here is our goal. Now, with this view, if I make the property of milestone tasks visible, we can then see within our goal that we've got this milestone task to journal weekly. And we can start to see how everything is linking back to itself. I hope that's given you some essential tips and ways forward to really take off with your Notion system, but there are a number of ways that I can continue to help you. So I really recommend getting subscribed here for that, because there's a number of bits. There's this, the LifeOS Build Along, a full video playlist series you can check out on the channel. I'll link it below. If you wanted to build the whole thing with me step by step, it's probably the most involved way, but the most serious way to really understand how Notion works. Once you build in it, it comes alive, and this can fast track you to that. Otherwise, download the Simplified Notion Life OS. There's support videos around it. And if you want to go really deep and want to invest in a full system that will last you a lifetime, you can check out my complete Notion Life OS bundle. It's my ultimate pack. It covers absolutely everything. There's a full onboarding guide set of videos that take you through using it. Thousands of users swear by it, but it does require you to invest that time and effort. And on that note, I recommend watching one of these videos next, because without the strategies and ways of thinking to use systems like this, templates and Notion are useless anyway. So come check me out on there, hit subscribe, leave us a like, and I'll see you soon.